This is the pan of the room. This is the front of note card 1. Here's the back of note card 1. Here's the front of note card 2. Here's the back of note card 2. Here's the front of note card 3. Here's the back of note card 3. And here's the front of note card 4. And here's the back of note card 4. So, according to the U.S. Census's Jessica Segma, over 34 million people in the United States have to live in poverty every single day. That is 34 million people that have to go to bed starving every night because they cannot afford to put food on their table. Some of those 34 million people don't even have a bed they can go to. Some of them have to sleep in their cars or on the streets. 34 million people. And to put that more into perspective, that is more people than the 10 largest cities in America combined. And with that, we need a solution. And the solution is a minimum wage increase. It won't help only the people that are in poverty working minimum wage, but it will help the population as a whole. I know there are a lot of people with arguments against minimum wage increase, but I'll be comparing those arguments with a similar pro. Like the arguments against it, I'm comparing with a similar pro. And I'm hoping that I can help get these people out of poverty. So let me talk about some of the arguments against minimum wage so that I can show you where those people are coming from. And then I can compare it to a similar pro that will show the good things minimum wage can do. So in Cass' article, the New Express Employment Professional Survey, she talks about how an increase in minimum wage will force businesses to lay off their employees and move them out to other countries. But in reality, what would happen is minimum wage would increase consumer spending because more people in poverty and more of the population as a whole will have more money to spend. And that will increase business profits and allow them to keep those people on the payroll and maybe even hire some more people. With the increased spending of minimum wage, it'll grow the economy and it can combat some of the inflation that's happening by improving the value of the dollar because people have more money and they're buying better stuff. It'll create more jobs because businesses will make more money and they'll be able to hire more employees. So this minimum wage increase won't only help out the people and the people working, it'll help out the businesses. It'll put more money in their pockets as consumers spend more money. In Cooper's article, he states, across the phase-in period of the increase, GDP would grow by about $22 billion, resulting in the creation of roughly 85,000 new jobs over that period. And that is just a jump from the $7.25 an hour to a $10.10 increase. So imagine what $15 an hour or more could do, how many more jobs it would create, and how much more GDP would grow. The increments that he is talking about in this article will help businesses prepare for paying their employees more because they won't have to just jump all the way up. They'll have time to prepare and have time to get ready to pay these employees more. And that's what Cooper suggests in his articles. So the idea of laying off employees because they have to pay them more, that makes it much less likely because businesses will have the preparation time. According to Purdue University's article of raising wages to $15 an hour for a limited service restaurant employees could raise by 4.3%. In that article, they state that the study suggests increasing wages to $22 an hour, which the Bureau of Labor Statistics says that the average American private industry employee makes would cause a 25% increase in prices. That's the argument against, is that the price is going to increase by 20%. But as stated before, you can put it in as increments. So businesses will have more time to prepare and they won't have to raise their prices as much because it's not jumping from $7.25 to $22, it would be a jump from $7.25 to $10.10 to $15 to $22. So the price increase won't jolt up. It'll also combat inflation because of the time the businesses have to prepare. Another argument against that is it comes down to basic number comparisons. $7.25 to $22 an hour is a 303% increase of people's wages. So that means people will have 3 times the amount of spending power that they need. And the price increase will only be 25%. So prices go up 25% of what they are now, but people will be making 3 times the amount of money. So inflation will be battled there because the prices aren't inflating as fast as people are making their money, and it'll also help spur up the economy because people will be able to buy more even with the 25% increases in prices. So that means those low-income families that can't really afford to put food on the table and can't afford the houses and provide for the families, they'll have 3 times the amount of buying power as they had before, even though the prices increase by just a little bit. And that's 34 million people that won't have to go to bed hungry anymore. And that's 34 million people that may be able to afford a house. There's an argument of inflation. It's going to go way up whenever minimum wage is increased, but in reality, inflation is always happening. So according to the Department of Labor, even with no increase of minimum wage since 2009 till now in 2021, inflation has caused the value of the dollar to increase by 8.1%. 8% with no minimum wage increase. So to me, it looks like minimum wage is staying here and inflation is still increasing every year. So really, we need to just catch up to make minimum wage workers be able to afford a livelihood with the ever increasing inflation. But now to close the speech, there are many arguments against raising minimum wage, such as businesses have to be closed and moved to other countries, businesses having to lay off their workers and find work somewhere else. But these studies have shown that is not the case. Actually, inflation is hurting the 34 million people in poverty. Minimum wage needs to be increased soon, and more often than every 12 years, quite frankly, because inflation isn't stopping. It is always increasing. 34 million people that might not have homes, 34 million people that might not be able to eat every night and have to go to bed hungry. Minimum wage is about helping those people. It's not about helping the businesses turn up a profit. It's about helping the people that cannot afford a livelihood. 34 million people going to bed hungry. Just think about that astronomical number.